Alright, this is our first group client demonstration to introduce the process of our group project. So first, I will go through the simplified system diagram. So when a normal user starts the system, he can log in or register, and this data will be stored in our database, and he will be assigned with a type of a normal user. So for the current, based on the current requirement, we set the normal user can be a random user out of these four roles, which are team coordinator, admin coordinator, volunteer, and the team leader. We finished most parts of the component for first three roles, but now the team leader will also connect our database with front-end functionality, partly especially for the team coordinator role. We will finish connecting all front-end functionalities to the database later, and this is all for the simplified diagram of our system. So for the detailed diagram of each component, there are three diagrams to demonstrate the admin, coordinator, volunteer, and the team coordinator. So we will discuss in later demonstration for these three parts. I will going to talk about how to run our system and our database construct. And first, we're gonna to set up web pages. First step is to set up our web pages. So first, we need to direct our terminal to the volunteer system package. This is our main package for running our system, and you can see the AVJS in here. So different routes to route to different web pages. And the first, we're gonna to install this dependency into our system, and after install this three dependency. Second step is to set up our database. First, you need to download pgadmin in your local machine and open a new terminal and direct it to the database construct folder. And you need to install the pg dependency and use this command. After you successful login, a successful install, you need to change the database and password in your local setting. So, and run this file. For this file, we first connect it to the local Postgres database and basic database structure. It almost have 14 tables and some fake data stored in the tables, and that is. So after we construct our basic database successfully, we can close this terminal and open a new terminal and direct it to the login backend directory. So in this directory, we're gonna to set up the setup.js file to change the database and password in your local machine setting, and change the database and password in this index file as well as before. So after we change it successfully, we're gonna to direct to the user role backend package and change the database and password in here as well as before. After we set up all the stuff, we're gonna to start run our system. The first step is to run the index.js in the login backend folder. For this file, it connects our local Postgres database in local machine and use the HTTP request from the access to get the get function and the post function. For here, when the front end require to add a new user to register as a new user, it will send the email and the password to this function, and this function will send a message to the database, use the query function in here and insert this new user to our tables. And if it inserts successfully, it will send the correct message to the front end and send back to front end. If not, it will send the false unsuccessful message to the front end. And that is the whole process for front end send message to backend, and backend send query to the database and return back to the front end to show the display the message in the front end web pages. For the next step is to run the main page in the volunteer system directory. So we use the npm star in here to run our main system, and it will get the main page and the old page of our system. And we also need to run the user role backend index.js in the user role backend package. And how we are going to talk about what exactly the index.js file does in the next part.
The mechanism between our front-end and back-end or after our things is that we use the Axios post and get request to transfer our data. For example, here in backend, we use xprice. We have a function that can hold the request, a post request to this register, this URL. And our frontend has an Axios post, which posts the request to this URL that can be handled by the backend. And in this request, we use a data part that contains email and password. We transfer the email and password to this register address, and this address in the backend can handle that and use like pgAdmin, like pg component to insert it into the database. To pass data within the React frontend, we use the propose set for each component. Here, for example, we have a pass records component that handles all the propose that can be transferred from the parent component. And here we use we transfer the current type and our user ID as to propose to pass records, and the pass records can handle it here. You just use propose.userid and propose.type. This can handle the data that transfer between two different components. Between our database and frontend is quite simple. That we use xprice as our backend, and here you can see that we have a apu.post that can handle the request from frontend by calling this URL. Here is get all incidents, and it needs a team coordinator ID to use in the query that he can find it in the database and return the response. And in the front end, we use Axios to have a post request to the backend and with the parameters that are needed. When the backend returns the response data, we can use the response data to form some new components. Here, for example, a closable table that contains each information the backend returned.
The testing at this stage is done inside different packages. For now, we have authentication function, volunteer, admin coordinator, and team coordinator test plans. The team leader role is not developed at this stage, thus the detailed testing plan doesn't exist for now. The test cases for each role are divided by the required functionality, also known as component from our system diagram. Now let's have a look on the detailed testing plan. Here we have authentication, also volunteer testings. Team leader testing is now developed yet. The coordinator testing plan, and last is the admin testing plan. Let's take the authentication testing as an example. We test if for each package, we test if functionality are working as expected by conducting the listed testing in our testing plan. Since at each sprint we work on specific functionality, each developer will do manual testing following the test steps in each test cases. A checklist is provided for developers to ensure all tests are successfully passed. Only after all test cases are passed, developer could move to the next development stage. One key thing we have resolved in our web application is the way to redirect to each component, which means each functionality in each role page. In first development stage, we are using router to redirect. However, in this way, we are having a lot of duplicated code in each component. So later we found we could achieve redirect under one path by only changing a small component part. In this way, the code for our project becomes more readable with better accessibility. The acceptance criteria of our project is determined by the acceptance criteria for each user story. Here is a list of our existing user stories. The acceptance test is designed according to the acceptance criteria for each user story.
We use Lighthouse as a standard to test our web usability and quality. Here we can see that from the Lighthouse we got a pretty good marks for that. First one is performance. This is because we do not use mailing components. We want to make our web pages as simple as it can be and provides only the requirement functions. And for accessibility, because we use some third-party components like this slideshow, so the buttons maybe lack of some area labels. We will try to fix that in the future developing, but currently it's working pretty good. And the best practice score and the SEO is also shown here. Each time we will evaluate the Lighthouse scores and see what we can improve in our website designs for the future developing.
So let me introduce the functionality of the volunteer page. Here is a detailed diagram of component of the volunteer page. Volunteer page consists of 4 main pages. One for poachers is a home page for it. And the other 3 is 3 functionality that can complete training model, can update WWCC number, and can check history. And for the training model, it should be linked with external link, but it hasn't been completed yet. And for the WWCC number, it should connect with the database to confirm whether it's validated or not. And for the night history, it also need to get the data from the database, which is also not being implemented. So here's how to do the functionality that we have implemented. We first enter the path of the volunteer homepage and its portals to welcome volunteers to join us. And we can click the banner of the training to see the training models, and it should be some link or button that you can transfer to other pages to complete your training model. And we can click the WWCC number, and it shows the number of your information. But when it connects to database, maybe it will appear that you are validated or not. And we can click here to see the attend history. Now it's just some text, but later it will be read from the database about your personal information. So that's all about how to run what functionality has been implemented and the detailed component of the volunteer part.
We're talking about login and register part first. As a user, first we see the volunteer portal, but we do not have an account, so we click to here to register. Yeah, we use oneat1.com as our name, email address, and 123 as our password. Register, success registered. Okay, let's back to here, and then we log in. Now I will introduce you as a team coordinator role. What I can do. The first is the team coordinator portal. Here is the collectibles that have some images, and you can click that. It will directly return you to the society web page. And now we go to team manage. Yeah, here you can manage all your members in your team, but here we do not have any members in our database yet. And here you can add a member, and this function isn't completed yet. And here you can see all your contacts. And for example, we click Bofan. Yeah, here is the information page of that person, but yeah, we do not build this database yet. And for the parse event, this one is fully functional. We connect our front end and back end. Here you can see all the incidents. This is reading from the database. Here we can see all the parse incidents records. Here is the incidents like details. You can expand them, close them, and for the orders, the same. The orders, they have 3 orders, and here order 1, order ID 2, and the order ID 5. They are different orders. And that's all for the team coordinator role, what you can do in the website.
Now I'm going to talk about the required and currently working features for the admin page. On the left-hand side here, we have a list of required functionality for admin. For only the second, create records for homeless clients front-end React web page is not fully implemented. All the rest front-end pages are currently working, and I will introduce them in later. The other thing that is not implemented yet is the connection with database. Now I'm going to show you how these features are really working. This is the team admin portal, which is also the team admin homepage. As you can see on the top banner here, we have a list of functionality that is required for our admin role. The first one is the View People button. Here we have a list of recorded people in the system. By clicking each person's name, we will be able to see detailed information. For now, the detailed information isn't added because it hasn't connected with the database. The second button here is the page to add new homeless client records. For now, we can have a look at all the records recorded in the system. By clicking the Add New Record button, we should be able to add new record, however, it is not implemented yet. The third button here is to view all the pending and completed orders recorded in database. However, since we haven't connected the front-end page with backend database, we are now seeing some static information about orders. We will have a list of detailed information for orders after we connect it with our database. The fourth button is to view a list of WWCC number that are waiting to be confirmed by the admin. By clicking the confirm button, the admin will be able to confirm each WWCC number. The last one is the analytic page function. For now, it's not showing anything because it hasn't connected with database. After the connection with database, it will show a simple page for homeless client analytic. The last one is a button to back to the admin homepage. That's all for the working features for admin page.
About our system strengths, I think first is that our system has a good extensibility. Whether the front-end CSS and the functions of different roles or the back-end processing, the members of our group are working hard to maintain the high extensibility of our system, make the system easier to expand and when facing more requirements in the future. Second, people can use banner to convert pages easily, which improves the usability of the system and enable users to have more convenient operations when using our web pages. About our system weakness, first, our system's style is not consistent. This is not only for the color of the font in the characters in web pages, but also the size of the title and the bottom. The consistency can enable users to carry out tasks more quickly and efficiently. and it can also improve usability and learnability of our website. Second, the front end of some pages is not fully connected to the backend. Because the backend needs to process a lot of data, there are still some rows functions that have not successfully connected with the backend. Finally, current application is not maintainable enough for future requirements. We will focus on improving the maintainability of the system and making up for other weaknesses in future sprints. This is our client demo. Thank you for your watching.